I guess my first question is, how did we go from keeping up with the Joneses, which seems so quaint, to trying to keep up with the Kardashians or any of the other wealthy people out there that you get exposed to over and over again, you know, via the media or movies or books or whatever. But just...
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of this journey is kind of how we got there. And I think the media images of wealth and luxury just exploded over the 25 years. And the research shows that the more you see those kind of images, the more you think that's normal and the more you want that. Plus, with technology and kind of what's happened to our communities, people just spend less time with people face to face, particularly their neighbors. So they're spending more time with those people they see on TV and kind of feeling like they know them better and comparing themselves to them. And then with social media, it's just one more kind of elevation in the comparison, so it's like we're all in a state of collective FOMO. It was not what we expected in the beginning, and I think at first I thought, well, my voice will be in. I always felt like my journey kind of had to be this connective thread between the stories, because I had kind of followed so many stories that I felt were deeply connected, but I didn't know if anybody else would think they were connected without me kind of making those connections. And my journey, in a way, was part of that. But as I started going back to the kids, we started also filming me, mostly at the prompting of my editor, Erin Wickenden, who had made other films about artists, like Vivian Maier film. Oh, yeah. And so we argued about that, and I would say this isn't a film about an artist, it's a film by an artist, and I shouldn't be in it. But it seemed as it progressed that we kind of needed me in there as a unifying character. And I started more as a narrator, and I started interviewing my kids and my parents more as representatives of their generations. My parents about the American dream, my kids about social media, and part of the inspiration for the film was my eldest was at the same age that I was when I went to Crossroads, which kind of started the journey. But as things kind of bubbled up in the interviews that related to the struggles of the characters, I felt like that needed to be a part of it too, and to kind of also show both how we're all complicit and I'm part of it too, and also what I learned along the way. And I had spent a lot of time in my work looking at gender, and in the beginning I wasn't sure how it connected, and then when I started thinking about it in terms of the commodification of the body and how girls leverage their power and how they learn at a young age that their currency comes from their bodies, and then how that plays out as they get older, from teenagers putting sexy pictures on social media to women like Kim Kardashian or Casey Jordan literally leveraging their bodies for fame and fortune, to the cost of getting older and kind of losing that currency. So that was a through line that wasn't just about women, in the sense that it was really about kind of how capitalism looks for insecurity to kind of exploit and sell things to, and girls and body image were a way to look at that. I mean, I think the whole kind of for-profit media coming at us 24/7 is really problematic, because they don't have the best interests of either our children or our society at large in mind at all. And yet I think there's other pieces of the media, like documentary films, like a lot of the documentaries that are being shown here this summer, that really kind of allow that critical culture, that authentic kind of culture that Chris Hedges was talking about, that allows us to kind of puncture the matrix and see things more clearly. I felt like there was these terrible crashes and collapses, and that in those collapses there was the possibility of insight and change and agency. And so the movie really became, for me, about kind of legacy, what we're given from society, from our parents, and then what we pass on unconsciously, and also what we choose to pass on. And so in a way, the third act was all about this kind of awakening, this post-crash awakening. And also part of that awakening being to get back to what really mattered, family and community, and meaning was part of that. And so I think there was that feeling of, I think, well, what you said about the emptiness, that's what I wanted to get back to, that I realized it was all about addiction, and that it wasn't about money or sex or beauty or youth or any of the things that we're going after, but more about the kind of emptiness that drives us to that thing that we think will fill that hole, which never does, and so we keep going until we collapse. And so that was kind of exactly what I was thinking about. I think it's cyclical, yeah, because I think that we're, kind of on what Florian described as the gold-plated hamster wheel, and that that was part of the inspiration for the film, is that I went through the crash with a lot of the subjects in the film and with the Queen of Versailles family, and it seemed at the end of that everybody learned their lesson, that they had insights, they were going to live differently, and then when the economy came back, everybody just started going back to the same thing, with some exceptions like Iceland, and the fishermen kind of stood for that in the film. And in a way, even stronger. Like, I had this feeling of dancing on the deck of the Titanic, because it just seemed like even more kind of velocity, and also more inequality in terms of who was kind of involved. And so, yes, I do think it's cyclical. But I think that we risk, like Chris Hedges said, it getting worse each time. And so that's why I think that, we need to also find in those crashes opportunities to change.
Well, Lauren, hey, thank you so much for being here this last 2 nights, and we hope you're back soon again with your next film, which I know you're working on. So thank you again.